The internal glory. Also outwardly glorious in this episode of Rakugo. So, in this episode, we see that it's actually been a few years with what's been going on in, the story of Rakugo. Apparently, the little boy that Konatsu was taking care of has grown up and is now in kindergarten. And as we know, Yoto ended up taking on, the role as the father figure for the child. And also, Konatsu is the mother of the child. But this is actually an episode in which we see these two actually have some sort of connection with one another. Like, we knew that Yoto was gonna help bring up Konatsu's, child, even though he knows deep down inside that, it's not his child. But this is the episode in which we see Konatsu and Yota actually having like some sort of affection to one another. We haven't really seen them, be romantic in a sense of them, kissing or anything along those lines, but I think Rakugo isn't really about that. It's about the connection between the two, Konatsu and Yota, and how they are raising another child in order to fulfill, the next generations to come of Rakugo. Just seeing that right there, seeing, some sort of connection between Konatsu and Yota in this episode was just wonderful. It really was, because we know deep down inside that, while they aren't the most romantic couple, Yota has a lot of affection and care for Konatsu. Konatsu definitely cares for Yota as well. However, again, she is the type of girl that really doesn't show her emotions much. She's very strong-headed and stubborn, and that's what we saw in last week's episode, but she eventually cried out to seeing Yoto and ended up getting hurt. So she does care about Yoto for a certain degree. So before we actually talk about the big moment that I really want to talk about in this episode is, let's first talk about, the first beginning of this episode. So we know that Konatsu and Yoto's little child has now grown up and is now in kindergarten, and he already has memorized some forms of Rakugo. We actually see him in this episode also doing Rakugo for himself. So it seems that the child that Konatsu has been raising really did learn Rakugo from Yota, because she said to Yota himself that I want my child to hear your Rakugo. And she also said this to Yakumo as well, so it was very nice to see that, that this little child is actually, learning some Rakugo. It just, tells you that the Rakugo will carry out through the generations and generations to come. And we see the little child, seeing the performance that Yotaro, does, and we see Konatsu, doing the little, I forget what the name of this instrument was. Let me think really quick. The biwa, that was the name of the instrument that Konatsu was playing. So she is actually being a part of, Yotaro's, Rakugo. Now, sure, she, is not on the stage, performing the Rakugo, but she is, giving, his stories more feel to the audience, as or you are hearing the, musical instruments play throughout the story. So that's very cool. I really like how they did that, how, the direction and towards her character, she's becoming closer and closer to, Rakugo in general. Now, the next half of the episode, we see that Yotaro ends up performing in front of Konatsu's and his child, in front of the kindergarten that the little child is going to. Sorry that I'm saying like a little child. I don't really remember the name of their child. But anyway, he performs at the kindergarten that their child is at, and we don't really see Yotaro perform, which is very, very odd. He basically just gives a warm greeting to the audience, and then we see him drag out Konatsu in order to perform instead. So this is very cool, and it gives us a little bit characterization toward Konatsu's character as well, because we know that she really likes Rakugo, and her father was a Rakugo storyteller, and pretty much her whole life has been centered around Rakugo when it comes to Yotaro, Yakumo, and even, her own child, carrying on the next generation of Rakugo. Sure, he's not, a professional yet, but he's learning at this very young age. We see even the audience in the kindergarten actually know the story that Konatsu, was delivering to the audience. It was so cool seeing Konatsu perform instead of Yotaro, because it just shows you that Konatsu can really perform Rakugo. And she's quite good at it too. And this was actually the first time that we see Konatsu performing. And it's her first time as well. And you see her, getting on stage. She doesn't know what to do. She's very embarrassed that she is on stage. She's like, holy shit, there is an audience. I've never done this before. But at the same time, she is very happy. She is very, very happy. Like I said before, Rakugo has been a part of her life. And we know that deep down inside, she does want to be a part of Rakugo, but she doesn't want, to actually perform it. But I'm pretty sure there is some part of her that, will end up developing later on into, which, she can even do Rakugo herself, because she stated at the end of this episode that men are apparently the performers when it comes to, Rakugo. It has been brought up by men, it has been performed by men, and she does not want to break that cycle, as it's a tradition. In the modern times, as of now, when it comes to Rakugo, not only men perform Rakugo, but also, of course, women. They give their own form of storytelling. So, I really do believe that by the end of, the next episode, or maybe the future episodes to come, maybe not, in next week's episode, but definitely later down the line, we are definitely going to see Konatsu actually perform more Rakugo, and she will become a part of Rakugo itself, because as I stated numerous times in this review, Rakugo has been a part of her life, and it has really influenced her and shaped her as a human being. So, like I said, we'll definitely expect later on more development of Konatsu actually, performing Rakugo. Now, by the end of this episode, we see Yakumo actually looking at the fan of Sukeroku. It belonged to Sukeroku, and as we know, Yotaro's name is now Sukeroku. Well, his given name. Yotaro is actually his real name, but Sukeroku is his given name when, he is performing Rakugo. That is what, the name he has taken on as of now. And it's kind of cool, speaking of Yotaro, I wanted to say that it's kind of cool over these years as, their child has been being grown up, we see that Yotaro has actually accepted his, actions from, last week's episode, where we see where it left off before of him having that scar on his back, and not like a literal scar, but, his tattoo. He didn't really accept his past because he says that, my past will always, be with me, but he never accepted his past, and that's what Yakumo told him at the end of the episode, of last week's episode. And seeing how things have progressed over time, how Yotaro has become, a big Rakugo player, the audience is full, some of them can't even, some of the audiences can't even find a seat because it has gotten so big. So it's really cool to see Yotaro's character develop as well. Okay, I got kind of, off topic when it comes to Yakumo, which I was going to talk about, but now let's talk about Yakumo. So at the end of this episode, we see that Yakumo, is looking at Sukeroku's fan, like I have said before, and then he sees a figure behind him. okay? I don't really know who this could possibly be because, it was, shadowed. The character was shadowed. We really don't know who it is. Maybe it could be a new character in this episode. But immediately when I first saw this, I automatically thought, yo, maybe Yakumo is seeing, like a hallucination of Sukeroku. And, they're gonna probably chat a little bit. And this is kind of probably gonna, kind of make a connection to Yakumo's character that he's starting to see things. And, because he is pretty old. And I wonder when he is actually gonna pass. We will see that eventually, which is gonna be quite sad. But immediately when I saw this, I was like, yo, is this a hallucination of Yakumo actually seeing Sukeroku? Like, I'm very curious. I'm very curious indeed, because we have seen, I believe in episode 1, or actually it may have been the end of episode, at the end of the episode of season 1, where actually we saw Yakumo at the gravesite of Sukeroku, and they were kind of chatting a bit. They were kind of chatting for a bit, so we might actually see the same thing play out in next week's episode. Not really sure, but this could also be someone from Yakumo's past as well. I really do not know, but this episode, I really enjoyed it. Just seeing the development between Yotaro and Konatsu was great, and it also kind of shows, Konatsu's affection toward Yotaro. Even if it's only very, very small, we still see some sort of affection between, them. And they even hugged in this episode, which is something that we really haven't seen before, So hopefully later on, we do, see a little bit from them when it comes to, the romantic aspect, because, I just want to see that. I really do. So, what did you guys think about this episode? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I thought it was a good episode, but I want to hear your thoughts. And, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.